I'm Robert with Knowmium, and this video is a walkthrough of Miro.com and all of the features and functions that come with this online whiteboard. If you have never used Miro, we recommend going to Miro.com, starting a free account, and checking out some of the basic whiteboards and the basic functions that you get. This video uses a paid Miro account, so if you would like to have the sharing and facilitation options that are in the later part of this video, sign up for your own paid account. If you would like a detailed table of contents of the different features that we walk through, take a look at the video description. They're time-stamped so you can jump right to what you're looking for. We recommend opening up your own Miro board and following along with this video to do the same functions on your own, or if you're looking for a speedy overview, you can increase the playback speed of this video and make me sound absolutely hilarious. This video is going to walk through 4 major areas that you see on your screen. First, we'll take a look at navigating, moving around and moving on that Miro board. Second, we'll take a look at the left side menu. This is where most of the functions and features are located. We'll also take a look at formatting. Third, we'll take a look at sharing options, interacting with others, and keeping control of your Miro board. What are some things you should do with your board before you give access to other people, and what are some things you can do when other people are using it? Finally, we'll take a look at the bottom left menu. There are some additional facilitation and presenting options. So let's get started with navigating. Miro does a good job of detecting if you're using a mouse or if you're using a trackpad. I happen to be using a trackpad. One of the best things you can do is a little bit hidden for new users, so I'll show you that first. I'll move my video box. Take a look at the top. We have these settings. Now, I'm not going to go through all of these settings. These are things that you can experiment with on your own. But here's navigation mode. Miro has found that I am indeed using a trackpad, and it covers what these basic functions will do. And of course, I could go and choose mouse if I want, but I'm going to keep that on trackpad and apply. Another thing about navigating and using Miro is when I'm using a trackpad, one click will select an object, like the Miro logo. If I want, I can hold down and I can scroll and it will select multiple objects. And if I'm using 2 fingers on the trackpad, I can zoom in and out, or I can move that canvas around wherever I would like. When I go to the left side menu, there's a select button. When I select that, the hand appears, and now the hand is going to grab that Miro canvas. So when I'm using a 1-finger function, it's going to grab it instead of selecting. I personally am comfortable with that blue arrow being ticked. Now, the other great thing about Miro's navigation is in the bottom right corner, we have the map. Now, you'll notice these blue boxes on the map. These represent the 3 items that you see on the big screen: the Knowmium logo, the Miro logo, and our preview. When we have a large Miro canvas, it's great because we can use this map to move around. We can also click certain areas if we've zoomed in or zoomed out, and it will bring us over to those areas. I'm going to just keep that right at 100%, just so it's easier for everyone to follow along. You can increase or decrease the zoom. You can go fit to screen, you can go full screen, or if you'd like, you can hide that map altogether. I'll leave it on in case you would like to take a look at this while we advance this video and see how it changes. So before we start adding items, I'm going to remove some. I'm going to click all of these. I've selected all 3, and I'm going to delete them simply because we're not using them anymore. At any time when you're using Miro, if you would like to redo something or undo something, we have the undo button at the top, we have the redo button at the top, and of course you can use your keyboard shortcuts for undo, Cntl-Z, or those non-Americans, Ctrl-Z. All right, left side menu. We have a blank canvas. And if I'm going to keep these graph lines on, if we hit our right click, I can turn off that grid, but I like to keep that grid on simply because it helps me with my alignment. We already took a look at the select button. Here we have templates. Now I'm not going to show templates in depth, but I will quickly show you what they are and what they do. Let's go ahead and click all templates. You'll notice there are dozens and dozens of templates, and these are built with the different features and functions that come with Miro, but they've put them together in these nice, handy templates for you. You can do a preview and see what it looks like, and at any time, if you'd like, you can add that. Now, anytime, whether it's a template or it's something you've built, you can edit your ideas, you can type in the blanks, and you can continue building offshoots anywhere you would like. Because there are so many templates, we're not going to go through anymore. You can take a look at the ones that you think might work best for you and your teams. Let's take a look at one of the most basic things we can really do in Miro, and that is text. We click text, we click anywhere we want on the screen, and I can type text. At any time in Miro, I can select an item or an object. I can hit Ctrl-C, and then I can hit Ctrl-V, and it will copy and paste it, allowing me to put it anywhere I want. And the reason I'm doing this is to show you a couple of options. Here we have simple, basic text. I can increase or decrease that font size. I could change the type of font that I'm using. Of course, I can use bold, I can use italics, I can use underlined, I can even use strike through. I can change if it's left centered or right positioned. I can make different bullets or different numbered lists. I'll show you insert link in just a moment. I can change the color of the text. I can change the background color of the text. I can add borders. Let's say I want a blue border and I want to make it a thicker border. And I can also change the transparency of that border. And if there's other empty space within that box, I can click another color and it will fill that in. Let's go back to this link option. When I have text or another object and I want to insert a link, I can link anything I want, and now I've linked a YouTube video. When I click this, it will give me the option of continuing to go to that link, which will open in another browser window. And at any time, I can choose to get rid of that link if I don't want it anymore. Also, there's a locking item here. When I lock this, it means it has to be unlocked with a long press before I can do anything to it. So if I lock that, I can select it, but you'll notice the formatting toolbar does not appear, and I cannot move this around like I could an unlocked object. If I want to super lock it, now if I'm sharing this with other people, the only person who can unlock this is me. But I don't need that locked right now, so I will keep it open. Also, if we select an item, we can go and click our right click or right mouse button, and we have a lot of other options here, adding links, locking, bring it to the front or the back, which we'll see later, copy, duplicate. We'll take a look at frames and some other things later as well. So that's the basic text option. Next, we have sticky notes. Sticky notes are great because not only can we choose a color, we'll go with the traditional light yellow, but when I type in a sticky note, it's going to auto format the text for me. So watch what happens when I write a lot of text. Now, some people would say that text is too small. Keep in mind that at any time we can zoom in or we can zoom out to increase the size of that, or of course we do have some other formatting tools in here. If we were to select this text, we could continue making that smaller. If we wanted to, we can continue making it bigger, but there is a maximum because of the amount of text we have there. This also gives us the options of font style, linking, we can change the color of that sticky note, and we can also tag people, which we'll look at later in notes. Sticky notes are very useful because we can create a lot of them, and we can leave those blank when we want other people to type in certain areas, and all they have to do is select it and start typing. We'll take a look next at the shapes. There are many shapes. We can go first with a simple square, and we can draw that square. It can actually be a rectangle if we want. And you'll notice that it automatically has an area for me to start typing. I can absolutely start typing within the shape if I want to. And of course, if I highlight that text, I can change the font. I can change the color of the font. But what I'd like to do is show an object that doesn't have text because it doesn't have to have it. So here's a circle. It kept the same formatting with the text style that I chose, the text color, but I'm not going to type right now. Instead, what I'd like to do is I'm going to click this object and I'm going to change the thickness of its border. And again, I can change the transparency of the border, but I'm going to keep that thick. I will make this one purple. And here there's no fill, but let's say that I would like to fill this with yellow. Great. And of course, there's the locking option. Now at any time, with any shape, I can click in the middle and I can start typing if I want, but for this shape, we are not going to type. Also, another great thing is once I have a shape and maybe I formatted it, I can go over here to switch type, and if I wanted to change that to a triangle later, I absolutely could, but we'll go back to that circle. Now that we have a few different items on the screen, following the left side menu, there are connecting lines. And I'll show you two ways that I use these. First, I'll show an arrow. I like these thick arrows. If I want my participants to see something or go somewhere when I'm sharing this with other people, I might choose to take an arrow, point it in the direction that they're supposed to travel, and maybe I want to make that stand out by making it blue. And maybe, of course, I can lock that. At any time, I can change the direction of that, and it's done. It's just there, it's free floating. But let's take a look at what happens when we connect two objects. To do that, I'm going to go create just two basic stickies. We'll go with these blue stickies, one here, and I will use copy and paste. And I'm going to label these idea 1 and idea 2. Now, there may be time for me later to take this idea 2, and move it somewhere else. But I want it to continue being linked with idea 1, which I didn't move. So this is where connecting lines work really well. Whether you use the line, the thin arrow, or the thick arrow, we'll go with the traditional line. I click idea 1, and then I click idea 2. Now that that line is set, and of course we can change the color if we want to make that stand out. We could add some or change some of the text. But watch what happens now if we take idea 2 and we need to move it somewhere else. That line stays with it, even if it's going over other objects. So these connecting lines are great because even if your ideas move around your space, you can still keep that connection. And the same thing would work if we used a thin arrow here to thin arrow here. Now we have two different connecting lines, but that's a bit redundant, so we're going to undo that line. All right, making some space and moving down. One of the more colorful and creative things we can do on most whiteboards is draw. So this is the pen tool. Now we've got the pen, we've got the highlighter. We'll take a look at both of those, but first the pen. And I want to go with a thicker line, and I would like to change the color to be green. So now I can draw let's say we would like a nice evergreen tree. There we go. I'm not the best artist, as you can see, but there is our tree. And at any time, I can change the size of the pen tip. Let's say I wanted to add a nice little star on there for the holidays, and if I wanted a really thick line to represent the ground, I could do that as well. Now, let's go back to text for a moment. I'm going to just type something here to show you the highlighter. Ooh, I don't like all of these formatting things, so I'm going to get rid of that. I'm going to get rid of that. I'm going to get rid of that, and I'm going to make this a very boring black text. And of course, if I need to, I can get rid of all of these other formatting items that I used earlier to make this very plain and boring as it would appear often when we're using it. So I'm going to go back to pen, I'm going to go to highlighter, and now let's go with the traditional yellow highlighter. Yellow's fine, and I'm going to highlight that. You'll see it is transparent, so we can still read the text. When we do smart drawing is great because it will help clean up what we are drawing. So I'm going to go with this. We'll go this time with the purple and create some space. Watch what happens when I draw a square that may not be a perfect square. Smart drawing should automatically make that a wonderful, perfect square for me. This works with many shapes as well as letters. I'm going to go back to my traditional pen here. I'm going to just draw something. I don't have smart drawing turned on anymore, so it's not going to clean up. But let's say that I made some mistakes and I want to use my eraser. It won't erase everything, but it'll erase these individual items that I made. And of course, I could go and use the undo button to replace that, or keep going back to get rid of everything that I did. The other thing to look at in the pen tool is what we call the lasso. Lasso is a way to put a lot of items together that may not be exactly grouped together. So we'll see if this works. It's not a perfect tool, but I want to get this highlighted text and this purple square together. I'm going to lasso it, and being careful to avoid those green lines of the tree above. And once I have that circled, I should be able to loop back here, and ideally it says that I've copied that up. Actually, it put 4 items together for whatever reason. Like I said, it's not a perfect tool, but I can take a look at these different objects that I have highlighted, and that's what the lasso does. Now the lasso is gone, and I'll put the pen tool back as it was. Frames are great, and now that we have a few things built, let me show you what some of the frames can do. We'll go back up here to the top. Let's say that I wanted to present these ideas, whether it's presenting on Miro, which we'll look at later, or saving them as a PDF, which we can look at later as well. I'm going to go to this frame and I'm going to make them custom size. So I've got a custom frame, and I only want to capture the text boxes. And I'm going to even give this frame a name. Text boxes, great. I'm going to go to another frame, customize this. It's the same shape or the same size, which is great. We can edit that anytime, and we'll go ahead and we'll include that arrow as well. And I'm going to call this frame Stickies and Arrow. And what's going to happen later is when we go to the bottom left menu with frames and I open that, it's going to show me exactly what I have in each of these, and not only can I click them and go to them anywhere they are on the board, this is another way for participants to follow along, which we'll look at later. If I would like to export this board, I can save it as an image. I can, for example, save it as a PDF, and what it's going to do is it's going to save those frames, and it does have options to save the rest of the board as well. But if we take a look frame by frame, it will keep it nice and organized. The other thing frames are great for, we'll look at later, is when in the bottom left-hand menu, there's presentation mode, and what this will do is it will go from, if we start at frame 1, then it will advance to frame number 2. This is a great way to present this, especially if I'm screen sharing over another platform like Zoom. All right, I know we jumped down to that bottom left menu a little bit ahead of time, but frames are useful, and it was a good chance to mention that. All right, let's keep moving down because there are still more things that Miro can do. If we take a look at comments, I love comments because I might give access to this board to somebody else, and I don't want them typing, I don't want them creating shapes and stickies and arrows and all the things we've looked at. I just want their feedback so they could click on something, they could type nice tree, and it's going to give their comment, it's going to give their name, especially if they're logged in with their own Miro account. I can also change the color of those comments. I can reply to whoever it is, even if it's myself, and send that along. And there are other things that we can do, like telling people this is a problem, we need this resolved, and that will flag it that it needs attention. All right, uploading. Uploading is one of the great things Miro can do because it can host a variety of images and files, and it gives us a lot of databases for these images and files as well. So let's take a look. If we go I'm still on comment mode, let's get that out of there. If I go to upload, you'll notice that it asks me, where do I want to upload from? From my device, I can choose a lot of different files that are on my device. Now, not everything's going to be compatible with Miro, but a lot of them are. I can upload via URL, saved files that are in Miro, WebClicker, Google Drive. There are more options. The other thing we can do is we can drag and drop. So I'm going to take that Knowmium logo that I had earlier. I'm still hovering over the board. You can see it gives me the options of saying recommendation of an image, of a PDF file, Microsoft Word, there's spreadsheet, PowerPoint. I've just got a JPEG. Now, some people go, oh my goodness, that's way too big. Yes, it was a very large file size. I can edit this anytime I want. All I have to do is format it. I personally like this dragging feature because it gives me a lot of control, and I can decide by using these grid lines if I would like to line it up and be maybe even centered and perfectly with that square on the left side there. Wonderful. So that's just adding any object, any image. Another great thing we can do is we can go to Google Image Search, which is built into the paid Miro platform, and let's say I would like to have a picture of a dog. Here's a picture of a nice happy dog. We're going to select this. Keep in mind, not all Google images are copyright free, but so if you're publishing this somewhere else, just be aware of that. Again, we need to format this because that was a very large file size, and we can line up the dog there directly underneath that purple square. And another great thing we can do is we can add icons. Here, I'm going to search for dog again. Some of these will be black and white, some of these will be colorful. We'll go with a black and white dog here. The icons are usually smaller. And again, we can line this up with right there in the center. Wonderful. Now, somebody asked me a question once. They said, when you are starting a Miro canvas, should you start it at, right now we're at 151%. Should we zoom in to 100%? It starts at 100. I usually use mine at 100, but as I move things in and out with my trackpad, I often zoom in and out, and it doesn't really matter. I don't have a big issue if something's too big or too small. I can zoom in, I can grab the corners of it, I can make that bigger, I can make the items smaller, whatever works best for me. But usually around 100% or so is what I start with, and I just move on from there. Now, it's time to take a look at what we might do if we have some items that are on top or underneath. Here, if I choose this Google image of the dog and I use my right click, I can bring that to the front, and now my other item is going to be behind it. But if I wanted this item to be on top of it, I can simply bring that one, bring that one to the front, and there we go. So there's some more formatting options for you. Now, there are more things to look at in the left side menu. I told you Miro is extensive. So we're not going to look at all of these, but we will look at some of them. We can go to iFrame, and if we go to a website, we can create an iFrame using an iFrame generator, or a lot of websites or spreadsheets or surveys will give you an iFrame code, and that will embed it directly into Miro. Here I've taken the Knowmium.com website, I've made it an iFrame, and again, I have formatting options, and this will open the Knowmium homepage within Miro. Now, it's not a perfect tool. I can't use all of the different scrolling options, but I can use a lot of the functions. And another great thing we can do is certain websites like YouTube allow us to embed YouTube videos directly into Miro without even making iframes. I have a YouTube link copied onto my clipboard from YouTube's URL. I'm simply going to paste that onto the Miro canvas, and it's going to open up the YouTube player, and participants and other people can watch this video directly in Miro without opening up another browser window. Now, this is different than what we looked at earlier. If I go to text and I type, say, watch this, remember, I can embed a link to anywhere, to any website. Here's the YouTube one. And now, when they click this, they have the choice of going to YouTube directly, or if I was to link to Google, it would go to Google. If I was to link to Yahoo, it would go to Yahoo. But the difference is with URLs from YouTube, the video will open directly in the Miro canvas. Another great thing we can do with that option is with PDFs. Here I've got a PDF from Knowmium. Again, it may be a little bit large when we add it. It takes it a moment to upload, and it takes it a minute to process. But here's the great thing about using PDFs in Miro. It allows us to go from the first page to the second page. Once it's processed that page, we can go from page 1 to page 2 fairly quickly. And again, if we open page 3, it will take it a moment just to process. A great thing about this toolbar is we can pin this. We can extract pages. So if I want to just get page number 3, I can extract that and it will save it from that PDF. And of course, I can simply download that entire PDF, and as a facilitator, I can choose to lock it. Wonderful. We'll go back to page 1 so it looks nice and neat. What are some other things we can do? Let's, again, clear some space. We can go to Webpage Capture. I want to capture, let's say, google.com, and Miro has already gone to Google. It's doing that for me right now, and it's going to take a photo of that web page. Of course, I could have pasted that URL in there, and again, it does take just a moment to process that, but that's what that website looks like, and it's in German. Wonderful. If you would like to capture all the stickies that you've made in your program, you can do that. There's tables and charts, mind map, which is just another one of the templates, Kanban board, another template. There's emojis. And here's the last thing that we will take a look at. There are cards. If I want to add a card, what I can do is I could make, for example, a to-do list. It doesn't have to be a to-do list, but that's what I'm going to make. I can, of course, change the color. I can add a tag. I can assign somebody. Now, this is somebody who is within my team. So if I have a colleague named Joshua, I can tag Joshua, and it will show up in his notifications that there is something for him to do. And I can also make a deadline of when this task or note is done. And once I have these notes and these cards, in the bottom facilitation menu, there is a cards option, and it shows me all of them that I have created. And of course, I could jump to those anywhere they might be in that Miro board. All right, so let's take a look at what we have so far. We started with text. We've taken a look at stickies, we've taken a look at arrows, we've taken a look at shapes and typing in the shapes, we've taken a look at more stickies and connecting lines, we've taken a look at the pen and drawing and highlighting and comments, adding shapes, we've added objects from our desktop, we've added Google images, we've used icons, we've used iframes from web pages, we've used YouTube URLs, we've embedded links, and we've added PDFs. There are a lot of other things that we could put on here. But next, let's take a look at building and creating some templates that we might use that are not the standard Miro templates. Just as a reminder, we can go into templates and we can add any of them that we want. And of course, at any time, we can choose to edit this information. These templates are great and useful for a lot of teams. There's a lot to explore. But I don't want to use Miro's templates all the time. Let's take a look at how to build your own templates and multiply them for multiple people. Let's assume that I'm going to have a group of 20 people on my Miro board, and I want to create an activity for all of them to do. I might start out with a simple shape. Let's go with the rounded square. And I'm going to keep it simple. Yes, I could change the colors and I could add a fill, but I don't need to. I just need that blank area. And I'm going to create a sticky, because remember, stickies are great when we want people to have a lot of area to type in, but we don't need them to have to worry about formatting too much because it auto formats for us. So I'm going to add here, type your name, and then if I want that same colored sticky, and even if I want the same text in there, I can copy and paste it. Where are you today? And those are the first two things I want my participants to do. So anytime they can come in here and they can type their name. We'll leave that back there. Of course, we could use a blank sticky. We'll go with green this time. I like how it keeps the same size. We're going to copy both of those. Now, I may decide that I don't want people to have to type over what I've already written. So here I might just go and use a simple text. All right. What is your profession? That's a bit long, so we'll make it nice and neat. And again, this is a text box, I'm not editing the text that I could that's inside that shape. I'm leaving that blank. I'm not going to type in there at all. And now I say, hey, this is a nice, wonderful, nice text box we got there. I'm going to put another question. What is a question you have? And if I need to, I can decide to extend this so my text is not on 3 lines. Again, sometimes with Miro, it's just getting used to how it likes to travel, how those lines like to move. Now, great. That's a very simple activity that people could do. Maybe I even want to add something up here, like another sticky note in yellow. I might put it here at the corner. Person 1, and then we have person 2, 3, 4. That may not be that necessary, but again, we can add really whatever we want. Now, I can copy all of this, and I can paste it, and when it's still highlighted, I can move it all around, and it's going to be the same size, and I can line it up with this other one. Now, let's get all of this, copy and paste. Now we've got 2 of them. I said I was going to have 20 people. So now I'm going to zoom out a little bit. Going to copy and paste this. And now we've got 8 of them. And I can continue doing that line by line. Or if I've got a massive amount of people, I can copy all 12 of these and they will all 12 move together. Wonderful. And of course, I can build on this. If I would like to make a list of instructions, I might put instructions. And again, oh, it's zoomed out. Well, easy, we can zoom it in. And I can go with number 1, type your name, number 2, and so on. And if I don't like having this auto format list, I go up in here and I turn that off. I have to type your name. There we go. Now it's allowing me, nope. There we go. Again, it's just getting used to Miro. Now, again, at any time, I can decide I want a different font. I want to stretch this out a little bit. I would like to make this maybe some more attractive colors. And I can move this text box over here, which in the real world, I would probably make that a bit bigger. There we go. So now we've got this big template that we've created. If you have a template that you would like to save, you can simply go into a Miro whiteboard like this, and I can copy everything that I have. Ctrl-C, copy. Now, I can open a new browser window, go to a new Miro canvas. Maybe I would call it, this is Miro Tutorial 1, maybe I call it Miro Tutorial 2, and I can paste this directly into another Miro board. The other thing I can do is if I go to my Miro homepage where it lists all of my boards, I can simply duplicate this entire board, which would include all of these things that we looked at earlier. It would be an exact copy. I love to make these templates and save my master copy, and I don't give access to anyone. I simply duplicate that board and I give it a specific name for, let's say, a specific group, and that activity or that entire board is already ready to go. Now, there's one other thing to take a look at when we are going to have people doing some activities like this. You'll notice that right now, none of these items are locked. So if I have a group of participants come in here, maybe they're accessing this on their own time, and I'm not there live with them. Somebody could come in here and they could move this around just like I can if I've given them editing permissions. So the instructions is something that I'm going to lock, and I'm going to go ahead and super lock it so none of the participants can unlock it at all. There's no reason for the participants to be able to move these boxes around. It's just going to mess up our formatting. But we do want them to be able to edit these stickies and type in these new ones, but maybe not edit these text boxes. So what do we need to do? Well, before we create all of these, I'm going to go ahead and erase these. Oh no, don't worry, you can undo it. But I don't want to undo it. I'm going to actually get rid of all of these except for one, and here's why. I'm going to use my control button. I'm going to choose 3 things in this box that I want to lock. I'm going to choose the square itself, this text, and this text. You'll notice in the filter it says there's 3 objects. I'm going to now super lock those 3 objects. Now, I can't move that. It's not going to allow me to because I've super locked it. I'm going to have to unlock it, and now all 3 are unlocked, but I'm going to keep those locked. But I can choose to lock, or I can choose to type on these sticky notes and edit them. So now, if I highlight this, it is not allowing me to copy what has been locked. If I copy and paste, it's only the items that were unlocked. So what does this mean? Let's get rid of that. I'm going to, again, select these items. I'm going to unlock them. Now, let me move these out of the way. I'm going to build in my template the items that I want locked. I don't want other people to mess with. So I'm going to copy and paste. Space those evenly. Again, we'll copy and paste. Space those fairly evenly. And now I've got a nice row where I can copy and paste. I can line that up. And I can continue doing that until I have all 20 for 20 of my participants. Now, 20 things, 20 templates. I'm going to now superlock those. So no one's going to be able to mess with those. No one's going to be able to move it around and mess with my formatting. I'm going to put my sticky notes back in place, or if I have anything, they could be objects, they could be sticky notes, they could be text boxes, whatever I've got. I'm going to put those in place so they're all even and lined up. It says they're even, but I can see in my grid lines they're not. Why is it doing that? That's okay. We're not going to be perfectionist here right now. That's good enough. So, remember, if I copy this, it's not copying the locked items. It's only copying the unlocked items, the 4 sticky notes. The other thing, if you're worried about it, use Control, Select, and keep Control held down. I'm going to paste. And then, again, those are in the same location, and those are centered. I'm going to go ahead and do paste again. And one more time, paste. And then, now, I'm going to copy all of those, paste, paste, and so on. So now I have built templates that have an area in each one that is locked and people can't move it, and areas that can be manipulated and edited by my participants. Again, be careful. If you want to duplicate this, you can go to your main board menu. You can duplicate the entire Miro board. But if you want to copy and paste this in another area or onto another Miro board, keep in mind what is not highlighted and not copyable, anything that's locked. So I've right now copied all those sticky notes. I can move them all around, but I would not be able to hit Cntl-C, Cntl-V to get my background. I would need to unlock those first. All right, now that we've taken a look at building and we've started taking a look at some of the sharing options, let's go ahead and take a deeper dive into sharing options. Before we share our Miro board with other people, whether they will participate live with us or maybe they're accessing the board on their own time, there are some things that we can do to make our navigation easier for our participants. I have built some different areas, so we'll consider area 1 the first area where my participants will be working. So let's say they complete some kind of task in area 1 and I am not ready for them to move on to area 2. I'm not even ready for them to see area 2. What I've done is I've put a simple white square or rectangle as a locked item. I've locked it, I've typed locked, I could type anything I want, I could put hidden. I'm going to unlock that and I'll show you what's underneath it. I can just move that out of the way. Now, when I'm helping my participants navigate, if I don't have something locked or hidden, I may just have an arrow that says go right. So anybody who finishes area 1, they simply go right, or they could go up, or they could go down, or I could have this covered, and later when I say, okay, is everybody ready? Then I move that and they are allowed to go to area 2. Now, you'll notice that after area 2, on the right, there's nothing except this arrow with another smaller arrow in here. You'll notice that there is a URL popping up when I hover over that. Watch what happens when I, or any participant, clicks this arrow. It's taking me to a new area, area 3. I'll zoom out and show you actually what I have, I've got area 1 and area 2 here, but I didn't want my participants to see really anything. I didn't necessarily want to cover area 3 with locked or any other shape. I simply wanted people to click and it will take them there. Let me show you how to do that. If I have an item, now this could be here, the shape, but this could also be a text box, this could be a sticky note, whatever I want. If I use right click, I can copy link. That now saves the position here, area 3, the position of this on the Miro board as a link. So when I go over to an item, I'll do it again. I'll just go, I use just a simple icon. I'll make another one here. I'm going to right click and I'm going to link to. Now it opens up here, it says pick an object on the board. I already did that top arrow. I'm going to paste that link, confirm, and now that's going to take me to area 3. There are some other things we can do with this as well. Let's say that I have 2 different groups of people. I have group 1 and group 2. Now they finish their task in area 3, and I tell them, group number 1, please click group number 1 to go to the area of the board that you need to be at, and group 2, you will go to a different area. Before I do this, I'm going to go up here, group 1, I'm going to copy link. Now, I could do the traditional right click, link to, and it will open up that little arrow. Or, because this is a text, I can choose to insert a link, and I could put that same Miro link in there. Now, anybody who goes to group 1, clicks group 1, they click that link, and it takes them to where they need to be. Again, just for emphasis, I'll go down here to group 2. I put them in different places on purpose. Copy link, group 2, right click, link to, and now I have that URL that goes to group 2's new area. And instead of having this underline where it opens up the new full link, they simply click that arrow and it takes them to where they need to be. So we can do that with text, we can do that with images, we can do that with icons, almost any object on the board at all. So this is great if we, again, we're going to zoom out here and we can see group 1 and group 2 are far away from each other now. There may be a reason to keep people physically distanced on the board so they're not easily taking a look at what other people are doing. And if I really needed them to work in private, I could simply create multiple Miro boards and give them a new link. So group 1 goes to their own private board, group 2 goes to their private board. All right, it's about time to share this with other people. I love sharing my boards live when I'm working with a group, but there are reasons why people may access the board to work on their own schedule when I'm not even there. So let me just go back here to area 1 just to have a nice frame of reference here. I'm going to move my video box as well. Now when we go up here to share, what you'll see is I can invite people via email. I can invite my board members in my team. This is if I have a company account with other people that I've added into my team. I want to give the team members certain access, but what I often have are participants that maybe have used Miro on their own, but they're not part of my team, or maybe they've never used Miro. So anyone with the link right now has no access. So if I were to copy this link and give it to somebody, it's not going to open for them because they are not me. I can allow them to simply view it. If they get this Miro link, they can see anything that I've done, but they have zero editing or commenting abilities. If I want them to leave comments and feedback, now they can see it, they can add comments, but they can't add text, they can't add shapes, they can't edit anything that I've done. But a lot of my programs are very interactive, and I want people to be able to type in the sticky notes. I want people to be able to click these arrows. I want people to be able to edit text and add objects and participate fully. So that's often what I use. Now the great thing is let's say that we had a group and they completed area 1, they completed area 2, and I said, let's take a 10-minute break. Please don't access Miro. Well, I hope I can trust them, but if I'm not sure, or if I want to make sure they don't do anything, I can simply change that to view, and now the security permissions have immediately been changed. So if it's during a break, other people cannot do any work. They could only view, or I could turn off access altogether. We'll leave that on edit. And now we are going to invite a participant to come to the board with us. Now before I invite my participants to this Miro board, I want to make sure they start the board where I want them to start. So if I want them to go to area 1 first, I might zoom in, and this is the exact position I want them to see. Using my right click, I choose Set Current View as Start, and that's exactly where people will start when they access this board. I'll zoom out a bit. Now let's invite one participant onto the board. Because I have a paid account, they do not need a Miro account. If they have one, they can log in and it will show their name, but they don't have to have one. They don't have to sign up or anything. They just have to go to my link. My participant has arrived. You can see at the top, Miro has named them guest researcher because they did not log in with a Miro account, and for my activity, that's okay. We can also see their cursor here on the screen. So when my participant moves around, it allows me to see where they are moving. And if they go off the screen, it will continue showing which direction they went. Now, if I have a lot of participants and there's too many cursors floating around, I can simply go to the top and I can hide collaborator cursors. When they perform functions, I will still be able to see what they're doing. Here, the guest has added a sticky note in area 1, and I cannot manipulate this while they are still using it. I can manipulate area 1 because it's not locked, but I can't grab that sticky note until they have finished with it. And then once they have finished with it, I can then go grab that and move that around if I need to. I'm going to go ahead and turn these cursors back on just so we can see where that guest actually is. Now, I mentioned earlier that this item is locked. Whenever they're finished with area 1, I might decide to either move that or just delete it, and then they can simply move over to area 2 as needed to perform the next task. One of the great things about Miro is that I have a lot of control as the board owner. So let's imagine my participants are in area 2, as guest researcher is, but I need them to come back to area 1. Now I could tell everyone, please come back to area 1, and hopefully they will, but I may be in a hurry, I may be dealing with people who are far away in a far section, and I want them to come over to area 1 more quickly. I'm going to go to my profile and click Bring Everyone to Me, and this brings everyone into my view. And as long as they don't touch their Miro controls, I can move over, I can go back to this area, and you'll see their cursor is following me, and it's doing that on its own. And the moment my guest decides to click something in Miro, and maybe they start typing something, I can move, and it will not let them follow me again. But I could do it anytime I want by bringing everybody to me. Also, it lets me know how many people are following. I can also bring specific people to me, especially if they're logged in with their name and their Miro account. Now I've had my participants complete area 1 and area 2, and just as a demonstration, maybe it's time to go to area 3, and I tell them to click one of those blue arrows, and we can watch their cursor absolutely disappear from my screen, and I can follow them, follow them, follow them. I could click that myself, but they have now gone over here to area 3. Let's take a look at the bottom left menu and some of the advanced facilitation and presentation tools that come with Miro. We've already taken a look at frames. If I open frames, we can see the frames we made earlier in the tutorial, and I can go to number 1 and it'll take me back there. Also at the bottom, if I go to presentation mode, I can go from 1, it'll take me to 2, to 3, to 4. I'm going to cancel out those. Any comments that are made will appear here, and I can click on them and it will take me to those comments. Chat is great because anybody can participate in live chat. There are many times we are using Zoom and we're chatting through Zoom or through some other platform, but if we are only on Miro, I could type hello. Now my participants in their menu see an option to participate in chat. And maybe they want to reply something, hi, and anybody logged in can do that. We'll close the chat box. I mentioned cards earlier. We did make one card. Again, it will jump to that card. We'll close that. If I would like to do screen sharing, this is wonderful because I am now going to share my screen with other people. So in Miro, if I wanted to go over here to Area 1 and show people how to use Area 1, they can now see this, watch me do it live, and then at any time I can end that. Another great thing about Miro is not only can we chat live, but we can talk to each other on audio live, and we can do video chat directly through Miro. Now keep in mind, the circle that you're seeing is my recording software, so people on Miro won't see that. But let me go over here to my video chat. I'm going to turn on my video. I'm going to start that, and you should see Miro through my webcam capture me. There we go. I'm going to turn my other one off. So now the video box that you see on the right side is me, and my participants in Miro can see that as well. Let's see what happens when my guest also uses theirs. And now my guest has turned on their video, and they have the option to turn on their video as well as turn on their audio. They have to give those permissions. But now we can talk, we can see each other, and we can work on Miro at the same time. I don't recommend doing this if you're already connected through another platform like Zoom, but if you are purely on the Miro platform, this is a great single conversation alternative to using another program. Once I turned off my video, my participants can still actively use the video and audio chat functions, and I could join back in at any time with my video. They don't have the option to use this until I turn it on the first time. Just keep in mind, if I leave, it has continued letting them use those options until they log off, or if needed, I could go up here to the sharing option and I could choose to make this viewable only, comment only, or have no access if necessary. There's a couple more options in the bottom left menu. We have voting. This is great because I can create voting, and I'll just leave it voting 1. Maybe I give people 15 minutes. Maybe I want everybody to just have 1 or 2 votes per person. We'll go with 1. And it allows people to choose what they vote for. I'm going to just go with sticky notes. There are a lot of them. And we'll start this now. I can choose to vote now as a facilitator. Maybe I liked these first 2 sticky notes. Oh, I only have 1 vote, no problem. And then my guest will also vote. Now there's still 14 minutes left in this vote, but everyone's voted, so I'll end voting for all. And this does allow me to see how many people voted for which sticky. Another useful tool is the timer. The timer can be used anytime. It doesn't have to be for any specific activity. I can just tell people we're going to have a 15-minute break, and I start that, and it will stay on the screen. People do have the option to hide that. If they hide it, it doesn't affect my view. I can also hide it, and it does show me the remaining number of minutes here in the icon, and of course I can stop that at any time. The last thing in the bottom left menu is the activity box. This shows a history of all of the things that have happened on my Miro board. These happen to be me, but if I had other people, whether they're guests or whether they're logged in with their names, it will show what they've done. Things that have been deleted can be restored, so we don't have to go back to the undo button over and over and over again. We can find those things within the activity board, and if people are logged in, it's great to see who did what if it's not attached to their name. We hope this walkthrough has been helpful for you. We, once again, encourage you to explore Miro on your own. Find the functions and features that work best for you and your team. And if you have any questions about Miro or other types of virtual facilitation, find us at Knowmium.com.